Welcome to OOD Works, the podcast, a show about unique individuals and the services provided by Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities, the state agency that helps individuals with disabilities find a job and be more independent. Here's your host, Kim Jump.
In October 2021, we announced Cleveland Clinic as the 2021 Governor's Inclusive Employer Award winner for their commitment to individuals with disabilities in the workplace and being a leader of diversity and inclusion best practices in Ohio. And today I'm delighted to be joined by the following guests. Diana Gueits is Interim Executive Director of Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion at Cleveland Clinic. She is responsible for partnering with leaders and caregivers throughout the enterprise to provide strategic direction to key enterprise diversity initiatives. Carmen Roman is currently the HR business partner at the Cleveland Clinic, serving as an advisor while supporting the Digestive Disease and Surgery Institute and the Glickman Urology and Kidney Institute. And Tim Gibbons is the Department Director of Patient Transportation and Operations at Cleveland Clinic. And his work is focused on creating the best possible environment for Cleveland Clinic caregivers by ensuring the team is engaged and the patient experience is world-class. And joining us from OOD, Michael Hoag, with our Division of Employer and Innovation Services, is the Business Relations Specialist for the Northeast region of Ohio. Not only was Cleveland Clinic named the Governor's Inclusive Employer Award winner in October 2021, they were also a gold level OOD Employer Partner of Inclusion in 2020 and a silver level winner in 2019. So long history of partnership. So excited to be able to talk with you all today.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. So why don't we just start with everyone sharing a little bit more about their roles. Diana, would you want to help get things started?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you again for the invitation to join both you and Michael in this conversation. So as you stated, my role is Interim Executive Director, really looking at driving and advancing diversity, equity, inclusion priorities and strategies across the entire ecosystem of Cleveland Clinic. And so, working in three buckets of workforce and everything that goes under workforce, workplace, everything that impacts workplace, whether that's education and training, it's the work with our diversity councils and employee resource groups, it's understanding structures around belonging, and then it's, what we call our marketplace. And so that's health equity issues around disparities, economic vitality issues that include supplier diversity initiatives. That's kind of a shorthand of saying there's a lot of work, but we just kind of focus on those three umbrellas to kind of advance, diversity and equity inclusion practices throughout the organization.
That's great, worthwhile for sure. Carmen, a little bit more about your role.
Sure. And just to add on the introduction to my support here with our clients, I am also supporting at this time Lutheran Hospital as an HR business partner. So we are embedded into our institutes and hospitals, providing our administrators and caregivers with support and guidance for policy administration. It's making sure that our caregivers' questions are answered. We're involved with different employee resource groups. For instance, the Diversity Employee Resource Group as one, Salud as another for our Latinx group as far as my involvement. And my role really covers anything to do with caregivers in the organization and making sure that the caregivers and leaders are provided that support.
Great. Excellent. And Tim, how about your role?
So thanks for having us on, Kim and Michael. So my role deals with a lot of moving patients throughout the hospital with patient transport. I also oversee the Red Coats, which is patient guest services, a concierge, a call center, which is Service Express, and admin services. So like Will Austin found, if there is a death, we do death certificates, notaries. So a lot of it's really, when we talk about customer service and the way someone feels when they come into a hospital, it's so important that they're greeted, that they're well taken care of, from the first part to the last, and then everywhere in between. So my team really has an impact on that customer service and in the overall feeling of what Cleveland Clinic brings to every single patient visitor as they come into the hospital.
Awesome.
So we move close to 1,000 patients a day. So we're really, really busy. And it's a department that really has a huge impact on the flow and the movement of the hospital.
Yeah, that's awesome. And Michael, for those who aren't familiar with you, your role here at OOD?
Sure. I'm a business relations specialist. I'm part of a team that supports cultivation and maintenance of ongoing employer partnerships with businesses across the state of Ohio to connect them up with resources of our agencies and connect them up with qualified candidates that can meet their workforce needs.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you all for explaining a little bit more about what you do. It's fascinating. So I've heard Cleveland Clinic has what's coined as a disability inclusive culture. Just curious if you could shed some light on what does that really mean for that to be the culture?
So maybe I'll start. I think it really is looking at the entire framework and looking at this the systemness of inclusive culture, right? And so it's our policies and our practices. It's some of the support systems. So having certainly clear policies on hiring and retaining individuals with disabilities. How we handle reasonable accommodations and also ensuring that we are consistently looking at how we're providing accessible physical spaces, electronic sort of resources, disability training, just everything that goes into that. And so what we've done is really developed a lot of opportunities for learning around disability. We have a disability etiquette training. Plus all of our new employees, complete an online learning module that speaks to how we promote diversity and inclusion. It really contains information on the Americans with Disabilities Act, and there's a lot of deep dive work that we also ensure that our managers are aware. Certainly the work that we've done with Project Search that has been elevated over the last 5 years. It's the work of our employee resource group, right? Our Diversibility Employee Resource Group that serves as an internal sort of user group that provides feedback and recommendations on our priorities and signal to us when there are gaps and opportunities that we need to look at. And so we become much more agile as an organization when you are engaging your workforce, which is 72,000 strong. We have 72,000 employees. And, in 2020, we saw about 1.5 million patients. And so understanding that we have not only an ear for what our employees are telling us in terms of opportunities, but also creating reliable, recurring channels for feedback from our patients to continually advance our inclusive culture and practices throughout the organization.
That's great. I really love how the approach is really about all facets and whether staff, patients, that you're looking at it holistically. That is just great. So how far back does the partnership between OOD and Cleveland Clinic go, and how did that come about?
Carmen, I think you should take this one.
Right. I think with my involvement, it has been at least 6 years. And I was primarily introduced through our Project Search as being a co-business liaison under UCP of Greater Cleveland. And that really opened up the doors for me to understand all the resources and partnership that was available to us as we worked with a lot of business clients around how to best be able to engage our candidates, our project search students, to really identify all of their abilities and how the Cleveland Clinic can really contribute to the things that they can do. It's really a testament, and we have proven results. And Tim can speak very, very good about this and his involvement with OOD and the support he's received with a lot of the students, hires, and those hires that have helped other project search students. So, my involvement very early on was also making sure that those resources were made known to our managers and our administrators, our talent acquisition team, so that they knew that there were resources, experts that can provide us guidance.
That's great. Tim, did you want to add on to what Carmen was explaining with that? And maybe for those who don't know too, if you could speak to the project search model.
Sure. So we've worked with Project Search for over the last 5 years. Carmen and I have kind of worked together for the last, I think, 5 years now, and are really we promote this Project Search, and we really advocate for these interns and their abilities to come in and be a great asset to the Cleveland Clinic and really take care of our patients and visitors. Because at the end of the day, I think everyone has potential. Everyone has a place, and so it's just identifying, hey, where does that place, where do you fall into that place, and how do we get maybe more and help you grow? So we've hired 3 interns from Project Search in just inpatient transport alone, and we've seen such great growth. So Isaac is 4 years from Project Search, and he's been hired full time to the Cleveland Clinic. Today, he helps train those coming in to do their 10-week internship. So we've had, that turn, and we're seeing others that are stepping up and helping, and it's just has a huge impact. And it really shows that growth to those interns coming in to say, listen, wow, he came through the same program, or she came through the same program. I do have an opportunity here too. So that's such a powerful message from the start when someone's starting into this internship, that to say, like, I can see myself doing what he's doing, or I can see myself being a part of this organization and taking care of people every day and really growing. Because from the start, when we first hired, we were keeping tasks very simple. And now all 3 of these interns that have now become Cleveland Clinic full-time caregivers, they're moving patients around the hospital. So we've seen such great growth in their maturity. The way they are able to communicate and connect with patients is so powerful, and it really is impactful to me personally, because I have family members that have disabilities, and I know how important it is for everyone to have a place and a place they can go to and call it a family. When you leave your home, you're going to another place of employment to feel that you're part of a family. And so we would like to create that family atmosphere. And it's so, I'm very excited for the program every year, and I'm grateful to have it. So we're truly grateful.
Oh, and we're truly grateful. I just love what you had to say about everyone having potential and everyone having a place. I mean, that's really what it's about. And just hearing the passion from you all and your commitment to inclusion is just, it really, it's outstanding. This question is really for any of you. What would you say is valuable about partnering with OOD, day to day? Carmen, you kind of talked a little bit about providing resources for managers and others. I mean, what comes to mind as kind of the benefits of partnering with us as a state agency?
Sure. It's making known that through them, there's other resources that are available. And even when we hire our students, knowing that we can reach, if there is a need to obtain additional support, understand maybe better or different learning techniques that someone might have, it's reaching out to OOD and say, we have a caregiver that we have hired, and all of a sudden we're noticing a change in their performance. And having that conversation to say, what are some things that we should be focusing on or doing differently, and knowing that we have that expertise to be able to follow and help us.
We've done it firsthand. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just would add that the partnership has really helped us support with, like Carmen said, additional resources, but even the thought leadership in terms of, and even looking at evidence-based practices, in supporting us with continuing education for our own caregivers, right? And I think, we all mentioned that we have a personal connection. I am a daughter of an individual who is paraplegic. I have a child who, has hearing loss. And so this becomes very personal to me, above and beyond my role. And so partnering with OOD has, continuous, is part of our continuous improvement, right? To evolve our strategy around not only workforce, but even, how we engage patients, patient access, health engagement. I will tell you recently, like lots of organizations, we've gone remote, and our Diversibility Employee Resource Group just gained 25 new members in the last 30 days. And we just before joining this call, had them introduced, and they all had a personal story. And so, even this new sort of transition that I think a lot of organizations are struggling with in terms of remote-based working has really opened the doors for opportunities, additional opportunities for individuals to find career growth and be able to thrive here at Cleveland Clinic. And so we're excited about continuing this partnership with OOD as we continue again to continue to cast the widest possible reach for talent for our organization, but also make sure that we have a pulse on some of the challenges that individuals face when trying to navigate through healthcare systems.
And diversibility. So you mentioned that. Explain what is your diversibility group?
So it's an employee resource group that's sponsored through the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Our employee resource groups serve as ambassadors for the practices and application of diversity and equity and inclusion throughout the organization. And so it's a group of individuals who feel a calling to this, whether they are an individual who has a disability or are a family member or caregiver of someone with disability, or someone who just wants to be an ally. And so we really look at opportunities that we have in the system. And so they were really the thought leaders and the support around bringing Project Search to Cleveland Clinic as a partner. We're, in our fifth year, we have a 72% placement rate of students who graduate from that program within our system and with our contracted vendors in our community. We're very proud of that. But really then again, really they're a user group, right? They provide us feedback in terms of opportunities. There's business plans that they develop, and they identify, strategic initiatives that they want to kind of push forward for the organization, whether it be something like Project Search and workforce recruitment and retention planning. It could be work around ergonomics and accommodation. It could be hosting lunch and learns to kind of understand how to identify those resources so you can be a much more inclusive leader and hiring manager or a colleague. So, really, the sky's the limit in terms of what an employee resource group can provide in an organization, and our Diversibility Employee Resource Group has certainly done that for the organization, really developed some signature programming, is a trusted sort of thought leader when we're looking at opportunities to, again, advance and evolve what we're doing to make sure that we are always trying to be the most inclusive as possible.
It's great how you utilize that. It's outstanding. Michael, what are the supports and services that you are able to help offer to Cleveland Clinic?
Sure. Well, OOD really does strive to be a full partner to employers committed to building a disability inclusive workplace. So from supporting their recruiting and hiring needs to offering training resources to cultivating a culture of inclusion, we want to be there to support our employers every step of their journey. Many employers, in Cleveland Clinic is a shining example, don't really demand a lot of us, but they leverage what we do offer and incorporate a lot of those tools into their own DEI toolbox. Recruiting and hiring referrals is often where it all starts with employer partnerships. And Cleveland Clinic has participated in OOD sponsored job fairs and hiring events since 2017. So 5 years of ongoing engagement with OOD to interact with our participants, discuss opportunities that they have available, interview candidates for jobs. Just this past month, during National Disability Employment Awareness Month, we had a virtual hiring event, and Cleveland Clinic was right there to engage with us again and interviewed 4 candidates through a virtual platform for job opportunities with a member of their talent acquisition team. And over the past 5 years, we've seen over 130 individuals secure part-time or full-time roles within the Cleveland Clinic network. Wow. So it's been an ongoing and very successful partnership.
Yeah, those numbers really speak for themselves. That's a lot of connection between OOD participants and the Cleveland Clinic. That's really great. For the Cleveland Clinic team, I'm curious about your process for providing reasonable accommodations, RAs, for applicants, maybe from OOD that are coming, or your employees who maybe acquire disabilities.
Sure. So as applicants, as a recruiter is made aware of an employee's disability that is disclosed, they will work together with a team to make sure that that applicant is comfortable as possible, making sure that the right questions are being asked to ensure that there is a successful experience. And so I refer to Tim because as co-business liaisons, he really gets it. And he's involved in that direct hiring process, and probably could even speak to the different types of things that he's done differently just to make sure that that candidate experience is being met. And we can clearly identify the skill set and the abilities that match the person to the job.
Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear from you. Yeah.
So this is very recent. So we've had 2 caregivers or 2 candidates come in, and both had stated that they are autistic. Mm-hmm. And so as the conversation continued, we engaged in open dialogue, and they were very open to the conversation of how they like to learn, what type of questions or how situations or comfort situations they're strong at, and what are some things maybe they kind of shy away from. Mm-hmm. So we had some great conversations. We actually brought both candidates back in for a shadow. Both have been hired on. So we're kind of working with our team to help create an environment where these new caregivers that are autistic come in and really learn and grow with the department. And so we have a couple of our caregivers that are working in our patient transportation department that have family members or siblings or kids of their own that have autism. And so they've kind of came out and say, hey, listen, I'd love to train. I'd love to be a part of this, opportunity.
Yeah.
Give back, and be a part of this. So we've really had some really positive input so far from these 2 new caregivers that are training right now, and just really kind of keeping things simple, but because this place can be very overwhelming with over 3,000 locations and a huge footprint here at the Cleveland Clinic main campus.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of shrink it down, and we kind of take things very, very slowly but methodically, and we want to be able to really listen in on what's working well and what's not working well, because both of these new caregivers, they really speak out, and I'm glad they do. But we try to create that environment where they can speak out, and we can kind of with them instead of saying, hey, it needs to be this way or not. No, we can work with you, and we can adjust things as we go.
I think being flexible during that interview process, being flexible as to how we interview makes a key difference. Making sure that the candidate is feeling comfortable, not that we're having to go out of our way to do something just completely different because of their disability, but only because of the fact that we are just adjusting our processes so we could hear them, understand what they're looking for. And as an employer, we want to make sure that we have the right match for a role. And so why not adjust our process?
Yeah, it's just really strikes me as so respectful of the individual.
I will add, Carmen is being a little modest. And so I think it was about a while ago, we had a candidate that we thought would be a phenomenal sort of hire for a particular department. And, departments and lots of organizations, you create a panel, right? And you have diverse individuals on a panel just to kind of ensure some sort of equity. Right. And we knew that because of the neurodiversity of that candidate, that a panel would be a foreboding experience. And so there was a conversation had with that hiring manager that was able to pivot and scale the interview in a way to accommodate that process. And we came back hiring that individual, but that was all Carmen coaching that individual around that as an opportunity for this particular candidate. And we hired a phenomenal individual as a result of that would have not done well in a traditional sort of panel interview. And so having that sort of foresight and being able and being flexible, as Carmen said, to pivot, to kind of make the accommodation at the interview process, not after hire, right?
Yeah, well, thank you, Diana. It is learning experiences, but I think this comes with being part of a partnership with OOD, being able to be part of, if I was a former board member of UCP at Greater Cleveland, it's having project search involvement. It's listening to the stories of the impact that it places on the caregiver. You're continually learning as you go along, and you want to make sure that you're sharing that with all of the leaders, because that's part of my role as leadership development. And this is, an aspect of that.
That is just great. That must have felt like a real win for you, Carmen. When
it was phenomenal.
It was also hired on, and to be able to see that through, that's really great.
Yeah, absolutely. Very appreciative. The employees extremely appreciative. Felt very much heard. Felt like there was finally this opportunity where people were understanding that she just needed to be looked at differently for the interview process, but still be accepted for who she is.
Important distinction there. Yeah. Curious what you all would say to other businesses who are maybe considering a partnership with OOD.
Run, don't walk.
I would say be open, inviting, really give it a try, because I think they'll be pretty surprised, how many people are out there that can come in and have a huge impact on your organization, your business, and really give it their all, and really give 110%. A lot of our interns or a lot of our employees that have disabilities give it 110% every day, and just a level of consistency and passion they develop for the job is remarkable. So I would encourage, even if they needed us to come and talk to them, we would definitely build a case, because it's so important. I believe I think everybody has someone maybe they know, or maybe even a neighbor or someone that they know that might have a disability, and they can really impact that person's life, by giving them an opportunity.
Yes.
I also would encourage that there be an employee resource group, a place where they can have a voice, a place that they could feel comfortable. Know that it's not just about having policies in place, but it's actually having specific actionable items where their contributions, their insight can place an impact.
Yeah.
I would ditto the comments of Carmen and Tim. I think what a lot of organizations is they do the analysis paralysis, and because they don't have the bench strength of some of the what OOD brings to the table. And so that's the beauty of the partnership, right? You don't have to have that. You can have OOD sort of coach you in that process and take a look at your processes and identify what are aspects of how individuals navigate this that I need to kind of support and shift in order to be much more inclusive in my employment practices, in my retention practices for individuals with disabilities, and utilize OOD as a strong partner in that work, and also, not be afraid to kind of utilize some of the wraparound services for your employees as you're bringing them on board, and make sure that those employees have an awareness of those wraparound services that OOD provides, because that could be, really a pivotal moment in terms of retention for individuals.
Yeah, thank you for those employer tips. Those are great. Michael, by way of background, can you share a little bit about the evolution of the 2021 Governor's Inclusive Employer Award?
Sure. So historically, we always were mindful to recognize what we considered to be model employers of inclusion. During our annual job fair events, we would typically recognize employers as best practice candidates, or employers that are really models of disability inclusion. And we're really excited that this year the governor's office actually took note of what we've been doing, and given the governor's commitment to disability inclusion, he wanted to put his name and position behind an acknowledgement of disability inclusion with an employer award this year. So we helped in cultivating the framework for that employer award. We encouraged employers to apply and kind of articulate their best practices in disability inclusion, and had internal teams that reviewed the applications, used a scoring matrix to identify an employer that would percolate to the top, and very honored to have had Cleveland Clinic be the employer that was recognized this year as the first ever Governor's Award winner of this Disability Inclusion Award.
Pretty special. So, Cleveland Clinic team, your reaction to being the award winner?
I was so proud to be able to submit that application on behalf of the Cleveland Clinic. One of our 6 values is around inclusion. So it's not just about it being one of those 6 values. It's about what we have done to be able to say that we are an inclusive organization. And that application gave us the opportunity to be able to share that, because it's about our applicants, it's about our caregivers, it's about our patients, it's about our community. And it asked all the right questions, and I knew we had the answers.
Well, I think, we were extremely humbled, right? Because when we enter in some of these surveys or benchmarking sort of surveys, The intent is always to kind of find where you are in terms of your trajectory and where it is that you need to go. And it becomes kind of a gap assessment sort of tool for a lot of our work. And so the intention was not, we were actually floored that we were selected, because our intention was not, that. I think our intention was, we've done some things. We'd like to kind of see how we compare to other organizations. And so I think, again, extremely humbled by the recognition for what we believe are really humble sort of beginnings for this work, because we have ideation of evolving beyond even where we're at. Again, thrilled to have it, but didn't go in for the recognition, more of like wanting to kind of see where we compared and wanted to at least storyboard some of the great work that we think we're doing.
We're not surprised that you were the award winner, were we, Michael? So if someone's listening and they're interested in starting a career with Cleveland Clinic, where would you want them to begin?
Well, we would have them begin by looking at our career site and filling out an application. Even though they may have a disability, they follow the same process, right? And so we will make sure that if they disclose what their disability might be and they need an accommodation, sharing that information and being comfortable to do that would be the place to begin.
Okay, great. And Michael, if there's an employer that's seeing or listening to this and is interested in partnering with OOD, what should they do?
Sure. Well, OOD's business relations team is here to help any business get started. Myself and I've got 4 counterparts that blanket the state in building business partnerships to support companies' disability inclusion efforts. We can meet with them either in person or virtually to get a partnership started. I often tell employers one of the things that attracted me to working for OOD is that we genuinely take a dual customer approach to our work. Individuals with disabilities are a primary customer of ours, but equally important to us is being mindful to what businesses need and want an inclusive workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Adding individuals with disabilities to their teams doesn't mean asking for a favor or to take on a charity case. It must be based on simply encouraging employers to be open to a diverse and competent source of talent that we can help connect them to, while supporting our participants in meeting their career goals. We currently have over 900 business partnerships across the state in every sector of our diverse economy, but we know there's plenty more businesses out there, and we welcome any of them that desire to create a talented and diverse workforce to join us in meeting the governor's mandate to make Ohio a disability inclusion state.
Great. Well, as we wrap things up, I want to offer the opportunity if there are any final comments.
I'll just lastly want to give a shout out to Kim Peavy, who's another member of Cleveland Clinic's workforce diversity talent acquisition team at the clinic. Kim's really been a trusted partner to me personally and to OOD. She's always responsive to us, whether it's engaging in our hiring events, accepting direct candidate referrals, or sharing some constructive feedback on participants that don't end up getting selected for positions. These are all really important ingredients for a successful partnership with OOD. So thank you, Kim, for everything that you do to make this partnership work so well.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike. I was just going to mention that we're missing 2 really essential key individuals that have been part of this, and that's Kim and Patty, that couldn't be with us today. And so really having trusted sort of individuals in the organization who are your liaison, can take this work and really work collaboratively to kind of grow that sort of partnership is really important. And Kim and Patty are certainly part of that makeup for Cleveland Clinic.
Great. Thank you. Well, to Kim and Patty, Diana, Carmen, Tim, everyone at Cleveland Clinic, we thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A transcript of today's episode is available at ood.ohio.gov/podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. We're on social media at Ohio OOD. Do you have a disability? Do you want a job? We can help. OODworks.com.